Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, Uttarakhand political crisis is our top focus. Now, High Court has revoked President's rule in the state. Centre has decided to move Supreme Court against the order. That is the big story that we'll be looking at. Let us begin with the headlines. Setback to central government. Uttarakhand High Court sets aside presidential rule in the state. Floor test to be conducted on 29th of April. Centre to move Supreme Court. Nearly 80% polling registered in West Bengal in third phase of elections for seats. Sporadic incidents of violence, including killing of a CPIM worker, reported. No respite from the heat wave. Met Department predicts 2016 will be the hottest summer ever. Gujarat government cautions dams in state drying up. Volkswagen reaches a deal with the US over excess diesel emissions in nearly 6 lakh of its vehicles. Substantial compensation and car buyback deals part of the agreement. And British government announces it will acquire 25% stake in Tata Steel's UK operations. Britain's biggest steel maker had announced thousands of job cuts earlier this year as part of cost reduction plan. Well, the big focus, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Harish Rawat held an informal meeting with his party MLAs and PDF legislators in the evening on Thursday after the High Court quashed President's rule and restored his dismissed government. Now, Rawat's media in charge, Surendra Kumar, however, said that he has not formally taken over the post of the Chief Minister. He said that the High Court has restored his government and as such, there is no need for him to formally take charge. Earlier, Rawat, his cabinet ministers and State Congress Chief Kishore Upadhyay met Governor K.K. Paul at Raj Bhavan. Rawat said that the centre is free to approach the Supreme Court and that the state will be presenting its side there as well. Meanwhile, Uttarakhand Assembly Speaker Govind Kunjwal welcomed the court's decision and said that the effective strength of the House has now come down to 62 as the State High Court has upheld the disqualification of the 9 rebel Congress MLAs.
भाई उनको पूरा अधिकार है वो जाएं हम कहाँ कह रहे हैं हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी अपना निवेदन रखेंगे और हमें पूरा भरोसा है कि हमें न्याय मिलेगा।
निश्चित रूप से प्रजा लोकतंत्र की जीत हुई है और जिस तरह से एक चुनी हुई सरकार को एक तानाशाह के रूप में बर्खास्त किया गया था उनके ऊपर बहुत बड़ी चोट है और ये भविष्य के लिए राजनीतिक दलों के लिए नेताओं के लिए सरकारों के लिए बहुत बड़ा एक सबक भी है कि किस तरह से जनता की चुनी हुई सरकारें चलनी चाहिए।
Earlier, in a major setback to the centre, the Uttarakhand High Court set aside the President's rule in the state. Former Chief Minister Harish Rawat was told to take a fresh floor test on 29th of April to determine if he can continue as the head of the Congress government in the state. Now, the centre has decided to move the Supreme Court on the matter.
Celebrations at former Uttarakhand Chief Minister Harish Rawat's residence moments after the Nainital High Court quashed the centre's decision to impose President's rule in the state. The court ruled that imposition of President's rule in the hill state was contrary to the laws laid down by the Supreme Court, underscoring that this should be used as a matter of last resort. It has also ordered a fresh floor test in the Uttarakhand Assembly on the 29th of April.
As far as this President rule is concerned, that has been struck down by the division bench today. The division had dictated the judgment in open court and restored the position of Mr. Harish Rawat as on 27th March 2000 when the President rule was imposed.
Rawat called it a victory for the people of Uttarakhand, while the BJP claimed it held majority with 36 MLAs.
4 जबरदस्त घाव जो उत्तराखंड के शरीर पर लगे माननीय उच्च न्यायालय के आदेश से जिस प्रकार से उन्होंने थ्रेडबेयर सब चीजों पर न्याय दिया है, मरहम लगा है।
कोई आश्चर्य नहीं, क्योंकि 3 दिन से जिस प्रकार बेंच से टिप्पणियां हो रही थी उससे लग रहा था कि निर्णय अपेक्षित है। आज भी हम कह रहे हैं कि हरीश रावत अल्पमत में है। 29 तारीख को भी ये सिद्ध होगा कि वो अल्पमत में ही है।
The rebel Congress MLAs now want the centre to approach the Supreme Court.
मुझे लगता है कि फैसला सही नहीं है। राष्ट्रपति का जो आदेश था वो बहुत साउंड था, लीगल था, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल था। अब हाईकोर्ट ने एक फैसला दिया है तो मैं तो केंद्र सरकार को राय दूंगा कि वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाए और सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो है इस पूरे आदेश की समीक्षा करे।
Constitutional experts called it a historic ruling.
First time that a high court has reviewed the imposition of president's rule and as a consequence set it aside.
The state of Uttarakhand was brought under president's rule on the 27th of March, just a day before a floor test was to be held. The Union Cabinet made the recommendation to the President, citing breakdown of constitutional machinery in the hill state following a rebellion in the ruling Congress. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, in related news, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi launched a scathing attack on Prime Minister Modi following the High Court order on Uttarakhand. Now, Rahul took to the Twitter and he said, Modi government's blatant power grab fails, democracy wins. He added, Modi ji, while you attack the constitution, destroy institutions and undermine democracy, please remember people of Uttarakhand and the entire country are watching, quote unquote. In fact, the party asked the Prime Minister and also BJP Chief Amit Shah to tender an unconditional apology to the nation. Well, reactions on this big story continues to pour in. Let's listen in.
हाई कोर्ट को और सुप्रीम कोर्ट को जो कुछ भी कानून इसके संबंध में है उसको इंटरप्रेट करने का संवैधानिक अधिकार है और उसके आधार पर पूरी सुनवाई करने के बाद वो इस नतीजे पर पहुंचे, अपने आप में बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण फैसला है ये।
हम न्यायालय के प्रति सर झुकाकर प्रणाम करते हैं, शीश नवाते हैं कि उन्होंने सत्य की, न्याय की, संविधान की और परंपराओं की रक्षा की है।
ये संतोषजनक फैसला नहीं है और हम ये समझते हैं कि हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे और हमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट से न्याय मिलेगा, ऐसी हमें आशा है।
As I told another channel just now, we don't even have a copy of the judgment. So till I read the judgment, I cannot say what observations are there or not. But certainly, we shall be asking for a stay of the judgment and saying that a presidential notification cannot be quashed in this fashion.
On to some other news. Well, Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu has called the Goods and Services Tax Bill the need of the hour. Naidu said that the government will try to convince the opposition for the smooth passage of the legislation in the second part of the budget session that starts on 25th of April. Now, speaking to reporters, Naidu said that they had almost completed discussions with most of the parties. There were 1 or 2 issues that he called were the need of the hour.
GST, we are almost completed discussion with the majority of the parties. There are 1 or 2 issues that also we will try to convince opposition and we want to get it passed because GST is the need of the hour.
Well, moving on, as the water crisis worsens in the country, the Gujarat government on Thursday said that most of the 200-odd dams in the state were witnessing fast depleting water levels in scorching summer, now leaving them with just over 21% of their actual storage capacity. Till now, the state government has declared 994 villages of the parched Saurashtra and Kutch region as a partially scarcity hit. In view of the acute water crisis, the government has announced to keep water in 56 dams reserved for providing drinking water to people. In order to tackle the situation, government has also announced to increase the water supply through Narmada Canal network. The government also said that more than 300 villages in 14 districts are being given water through tankers at present. Government has also announced to distribute cattle fodder at concessional rates to the farmers and cattle rearers in the worst hit regions. Now to our special focus on the drought crisis in Maharashtra's Marathwada region. Now, Beed district is the worst affected, with wells, reservoir and dams dried up completely. Now, this is also a region from where maximum farmer suicides have been reported. Beed is State Minister Pankaja Munde's district, and despite her recent drought selfie controversy, locals say that some timely steps have made a slight difference.
Grief-stricken family and friends mourning the death of Kailash Tilak Rao More. This owner of 16 bighas in Ronas village of Beed district ended his life on 11th of April, unable to pay his farming debts. More is one of the 55 farmers who committed suicide in the district this year. Some time ago, the government had acquired a part of his land for the National Highway project. The family had pinned its hope on the 42 lakh rupees as they were promised as compensation. But bureaucratic red tape prevented it from reaching them. Expenses that More incurred on his son Gorakhnath's wedding last month further swelled his debts, proving to be the final straw for him. More's story is shared by almost every other farmer in the village.
वो बहुत दिन से बीड़ को आ रहे थे, पैसे नहीं मिले इसलिए उन्होंने सुसाइड किया और उनकी ज़मीन जो जा रही है रोड में उसके पैसे नहीं मिल रहे थे इसलिए वो परेशान थे। 3 साल से बारिश नहीं हो रही है और खेत में कुछ भी अनाज नहीं पैदा हुआ।
Dominated by Marathas, the 1500-strong population in Ronas village includes members of all communities. It used to be a prosperous place once, but that was before recurring droughts for the last 5 years ruined the local economy. Fallow land and scarcity of drinking water have together crushed the hopes of the villagers. The lone hand pump manages to cough up water to fill up 4 vessels a day, which is why every household has installed tanks to store water. Tankers provide each family about 500 liters of water once every 8 days. To prevent fights from breaking out, the village panchayat decides the distribution of the water. But despite this, the water provided by the administration is not fit to drink, and women are forced to walk long distances for clean water.
5 साल हो गया बारिश नहीं, इसलिए खेती में कुछ आता नहीं, हर किसान को कोई पीक नहीं, कुछ नहीं, गांव में पानी नहीं, सब वो परेशानी में है।
यहाँ 8 दिन को 10 दिन को 11 दिन को एक बार ही टैंकर आता है ना, आता है तो गंदा पानी आता है। हम गरीबी लोग हैं, अभी ये कौन बोलता है ये करो वो करो, बाद में दवाखाने में जाने का पैसा कहाँ से लाने का, बताओ हम लोग को तो क्या करने का हम लोग ने।
District Magistrate Naval Kishore Rai admits the situation is very bad, but he points out the administration is operating a round-the-clock war room that's taking steps on several levels to overcome the crisis.
हमारा वाटर टैंक है, तकरीबन उसमें 12,000 लीटर पानी होता है और एक गांव में तो बोल सकते हैं कि औसतन 2 या 3 ट्रिप्स हम लगाते हैं, तो तकरीबन 1,500 ट्रिप्स है, तो इतने सारे टैंक्स के द्वारा लोगों को पानी दे रहे हैं।
In view of the water crisis, the local administration has provided 265 cattle camps in Beed. In all, about 2,65,000 cattle are provided fodder and water here. 80% of such cattle camps are located in Marathwada alone. Villagers say they are satisfied with the arrangements. 25 million people are facing the twin problems of drought and water scarcity in Beed district. While farmers and poor people are fleeing the district, authorities have stationed almost 900 tankers besides diverting water rationed from the city. But it's all proving to be an uphill battle against the rising heat and water scarcity. Arvind Kumar Singh's report from Beed district in Maharashtra for Rajya Sabha TV.
And in related news, 2016 could be the hottest summer ever. The Met Department has attributed the intense heat to the El Nino phenomena, which is likely to become neutral in the coming months. Now, Met Department said that 2015 was the hottest year recorded, but with mercury already rising above the normal this year, the summers are expected to be the hottest this year. Now, India is reeling under intense heat wave conditions, with hundreds of people dying across the country due to sunstroke. The IMD has already made a forecast of a summer with above normal temperatures. Globally as well, the year is expected to be the hottest. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has termed March 2016 as the hottest March so far. The agency also said that for 2016, global average temperature was 2.07 degrees Fahrenheit, above the 20th century average. And in Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
My research sort of speciality is essentially signal processing. For a person who works on this multi-detector sort of strategy, I think having detected in India is fantastic. I'm more excited is to see this kind of a system which we never expected.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Archana Pai, Assistant Professor, IISA Thiruvananthapuram, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back after the break, and now let's get you all the election-related news in our special segment, Verdict 2016. Nearly 80% of polling was reported in the third phase of West Bengal, where 62 seats went to polls. Well, the polling was, however, marked by sporadic incidents of violence.
An impressive turnout in the third phase of elections in West Bengal.
At 5 p.m., the figure reported to us by the CEO is 79.22% voter turnout.
There were sporadic incidents of violence reported, including the killing of a CPIM worker. There were also incidents of crude bomb hurling and clashes between rival political parties.
Few cases of throwing of crude bombs were also reported, and it was reported that some of the political party supporters were injured. In all the cases, FIR has been lodged against the culprits, and many of those culprits have been apprehended. Investigations are going on, and very soon we'll be, I'm sure that everybody would be apprehended.
Heavy turnout of 81.62% was recorded in 17 seats of Nadia, 79.29% in 22 seats of Murshidabad, and 78.26% in 16 seats of Burdwan. However, the 7 constituencies of northern Kolkata registered only 57.05% votes. 62 constituencies went to vote in this phase. In the 2011 assembly polls, the voter turnout stood at 84.83%, while it was 81.80% in the 2014 Lok Sabha polls in the constituencies, which went to polls on Thursday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news now, and the newly constituted Bank Board bureaus will meet for the second time today to deliberate on a host of issues, including consolidation, stressed assets and capital infusion. The board will also decide on filing board-level vacancies in various banks and will discuss ways to bring down NPA level down in public lenders. The board's first meeting was held on 8th of April, which was attended by Minister of State for Finance Jayant Sinha and RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan. The Bureau has been constituted earlier this year to help the government select heads of PSBs and financial institutions and assist banks in developing strategies and capital raising plans. Moving on now, after the BJP claim that the French Rafale fighter jet deal is finalized, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar has now given a different version. Parrikar said that the deal is not complete yet, although it is in an advanced stage, and the government's intention is to seal the deal by end of May. Now, India has been bargaining hard with France over the pricing of the 36 jets, which will be brought through government to government bases. Now, the original deal of the buying 126 multi-role fighter jets with France had run into trouble over pricing issues, which after intervention by the Prime Minister and French President François Hollande was cut down to 36 jets in flyaway condition to meet the Indian Air Force's urgent need. The BJP had tweeted a picture saying that the Rafale combat aircraft deal has been finalized and the Narendra Modi government had saved over 21,000 crore rupees in the renegotiation with the French government.
While the deal is in quite advanced stage and we intend to close it quite soon, still I can't say that the negotiations are totally cleared until we sign the deal, or at least the deal is forwarded to the cabinet for approval.
News from across the border now. In Pakistan has warned India that the 2611 trial could face further delay if India does not send 24 witnesses to Pakistan to record their statement. Now, court officials said, and I quote him now, the hearing of the case is adjourned without any proceedings during the last 3 consecutive weeks or hearings, 6th, 13th and 20th of April, because the Pakistani government is still awaiting its counterpart's response about sending Indian witnesses to Pakistan for recording statements in the case, quote unquote. Now, putting the ball in India's court, Pakistan has said that their court has already completed recording the statements of all the Pakistani witnesses in the case, and for the trial to move ahead now, India must send all the 24 Indian witnesses to depose before it. Now, this comes even as the anti-terrorism court in Islamabad has not yet announced its order on the prosecution's request to make amendment in the charges against the 7 suspects, including LET operations commander Zakir Rahman Lakhvi, in abetment to murder of each individual in the Mumbai carnage. Lakhvi, who is believed to be the mastermind of the Mumbai attacks, is living in undisclosed location after he was released from jail on bail a year ago. The other 6 suspects are in Rawalpindi jail. International news. A week after a series of earthquakes, heavy showers fell in southern Japan, adding to the woes of residents already rattled by continuing aftershocks. The surge has been halted on the slopes of the landslide, where 2 people are still missing. A total of 11 bodies have been dug out since Saturday. More than 1 lakh local residents scared by the continuing aftershocks are now living in evacuation centers, and 11 have died due to the stress of living in cramped quarters. The Japanese self-defense forces, along with volunteers, have been involved in the search for survivors, and they're also looking after evacuees. Some 600 aftershocks that have rattled the area following the 2 quakes. More than 87 of these tremors have registered at least 4 on the Japan's intensity scale, strong enough to shake buildings. Japan's Met Agency has warned residents to expect the earth to continue to rumble in southern Japan for at least another week.
車の中にします、また車でちょっと戻りますっていう方もいらっしゃいますね。家の安全が確保できないという人たちがたくさんいます。家を失った人たちには仮設住宅が必要になります。今日本の国では道路の復興をまずは最優先していますが。
Now to the other big international story. Volkswagen and the US Justice Department have reached a deal in principle to address excess diesel emissions in nearly 6 lakh polluting vehicles. Now, details of the preliminary agreement were announced in a California court. As part of the deal, Volkswagen will offer substantial compensation and car buyback deals in the US. It will also include an environmental redemption fund to address excessive emissions. Now, the settlement is a major step towards the German automaker's efforts to move past the issue that first came in light in September last year, when the company admitted to using sophisticated secret software in its cars to cheat exhaust emissions test. The revelations had unleashed a scandal dubbed Dieselgate in the media. Now, final details of the packages offered will be announced in June, but a court had given Volkswagen and regulators until Thursday to reach a deal in principle. Now, analysts say that Volkswagen may have to spend more than $10 billion to comply with the US agreement. The deal is expected to settle more than 600 class action civil suits filed in the US courts.
We're working really hard to try to get this resolved and to try to put this behind the company, and that's what we're focused on right now.
I think the Volkswagen owners are going to have to wait and see, I think. I hope they'll be pleased with what they see ultimately, but they'll get a chance to review it. And as the judge indicated, once they have a chance to review the final document, he's going to listen to all points of view before he approves it.
We're disappointed. We paid for the thing in full, and we feel like it's not of any value anymore. And we want Volkswagen to buy our car back.
Big story coming in from the UK, where the British government has announced that it is willing to acquire 25% stake in Tata Steel's UK operations to rescue the troubled Indian steel giant by helping potential buyers. The UK Business Secretary Sajid Javid said that the financial package would be jointly fashioned by the UK and Welsh authorities, dismissing suggestions that the move would be perceived as part nationalisation of the steel industry. The government stated that they are explicitly interested in the stake on a commercial basis. Besides a minority stake, the UK and Welsh governments are also considering additional grant funding, which could involve support for the development of power plant infrastructure, energy efficiency and environmental protection measures, R&D and training.
The UK government has made it clear to any potential buyer out there that we understand that there's going to be some issues, whether they do with power, with a plant, with procurement, whatever those issues are that we might be able to help with and help further. We've already done much to help the industry, but there might be some issues specific to this business. So we're listening. We've worked on this for a while and we want to work with any potential buyer to see how we can help.
Let's get you some more international stories in World Wrap. Queen Elizabeth II has lit the first of more than 900 beacons lighting up across the UK and overseas as part of her 90th birthday celebrations. Army Cadet Force took beacons to the top of the highest peaks of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Prince Philip, the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall then joined the monarch at a private dinner in Windsor Castle. Earlier, cheering crowds lined the streets in Windsor as the Queen took part in a walkabout. US President Barack Obama made an emotional plea to the British voters as a friend and ally to stick together with the rest of the European Union as he arrived in the UK on a 3-day visit to celebrate the Queen's 90th birthday. He and First Lady Michelle Obama are due to have a lunch with the Queen at Windsor and then a dinner with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Obama will also speak at a news conference with British Prime Minister David Cameron. Obama was earlier in Saudi Arabia and will now travel to Germany after his UK visit. 2 people have been killed as part of a coastal cycleway in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro collapsed. 5 people were on the path when about 150 feet crumbled into the shoreline in late morning local time. Search operations are underway. The elevated path was built ahead of the Rio Olympics. The cause of the collapse is not yet known. Meanwhile, Brazil's President Dilma Rousseff flew to New York on Thursday to sign a global climate change pact, but she will use the international stage to denounce efforts to impeach her. The opposition criticized Rousseff's plans to address the issue at the United Nations days after the lower house of Congress sent impeachment proceedings to the Senate, which is expected to vote on opening a trial by mid-May. At least 6 high-ranking Pakistani army officers, including a lieutenant general and major general, have been sacked amid corruption allegations. The unprecedented move comes 2 days after the head of the army, General Rahul Sharif, said that corruption had to be uprooted to fight terrorism. The development comes at a time when Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is battling a crisis of legitimacy after the Panama Papers leak revealed that his family held foreign assets in the name of offshore companies. Well, time to wrap up this edition of news, but here is some bad news coming in. Prince, who's singer, songwriter, arranger and multi-instrumentalist is no more. 57-year-old Prince, who defined the sound of the 80s with songs such as Kiss and Purple Rain, was found unresponsive in an elevator at Paisley Park Studios in Minnesota. We leave you with the visuals of his fans mourning his sudden demise.